What if 2026 wasn't just another year? What if it was the year everything changed? Not because life got easier, not because luck finally showed up, but because you decided to rise. Most people drift into the future hoping things improve. Winners decide their future and force life to respond. This is your wake-up call. This is the moment you stop surviving and start transforming. Number 1, radical responsibility. Radical responsibility begins the moment you stop looking outside yourself for the reason your life looks the way it does. Most people spend their entire lives pointing fingers at their parents, their past, the economy, their boss, their partner, or their bad luck. And as long as they do, they give away their power. Because if something else is responsible for your life, then something else controls your future. Radical responsibility is the decision to take that power back by owning every result you produce, whether you like it or not. It's not about guilt or self-blame. It's about control. The moment you accept that your choices, standards, and behaviors have shaped your current reality, you also accept that you have the ability to shape what comes next. When you embrace radical responsibility, excuses lose their grip on you. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do about it now?" This shift changes everything. You realize that waiting for conditions to improve is a losing strategy because conditions will never be perfect. There will always be uncertainty, pressure, and resistance. Radical responsibility means acting anyway. It means deciding that no matter what happens around you, you will decide how you respond. And that response, your attitude, your focus, your actions, is what ultimately determines your direction. Most people underestimate how powerful this mindset is because it demands honesty. Radical responsibility forces you to look at your habits, your standards, and your daily choices without sugarcoating them. It asks you to confront the truth that consistency beats talent, that discipline beats motivation, and that comfort is often the enemy of growth. When you take responsibility at this level, you stop negotiating with yourself. You raise your standards. You stop tolerating what drains you, distracts you, or keeps you stuck. You begin to operate with intention instead of reaction. This way of thinking transforms pressure into fuel. Challenges stop feeling like punishments and start feeling like tests of character. You no longer see obstacles as signs to quit, but as feedback to adjust and move forward stronger. Radical responsibility creates momentum because it removes the victim mindset entirely. There is no waiting to be rescued, no hoping someone else will fix things. There is only action, ownership, and forward movement driven by the understanding that the quality of your future depends on the standards you live by today. Number 2, identity shift. An identity shift is the deepest form of change a human being can make, because everything you do flows from who you believe you are. Your habits, your decisions, your level of effort, and even what you believe is possible for you are all controlled by identity. Most people try to change their lives by forcing new behaviors while holding on to the same self-image, and that's why the change never lasts. You can push yourself for a while, but eventually you will snap back to what feels familiar. Real transformation begins when you stop asking, "What should I do differently?" and start asking, "Who must I become for this future to be inevitable?" Your identity is shaped by the story you repeat to yourself every day. The labels you accept, the limits you believe in, and the expectations you hold silently govern your actions. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously create struggle. If you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, your behavior will align with that belief even when it's uncomfortable. An identity shift requires you to consciously rewrite that internal story, not with wishful thinking, but with deliberate intention. You choose a new standard for who you are, and then you begin to live as if that standard is non-negotiable. This shift often feels uncomfortable because it demands that you let go of familiar versions of yourself. Old identities are safe because they are predictable, even when they keep you stuck. Growth requires you to act in ways that feel unnatural at first, to make decisions that contradict your past patterns, and to hold yourself to standards you've never maintained before. In the beginning, your actions may feel forced, but repetition turns behavior into belief. Every time you show up as the person you've decided to become, you collect evidence that reinforces the new identity, and over time, it becomes who you are without effort. An identity shift also changes how you interpret failure and success. Instead of seeing setbacks as proof that you're not good enough, you see them as part of the process of becoming someone stronger, more capable, and more disciplined. You stop chasing motivation and start operating from commitment because commitment is identity-based. You don't rely on how you feel in the moment, you act based on who you are becoming. When your identity evolves, your standards rise automatically, your decisions become clearer, and your life begins to reorganize itself around the person you now believe yourself to be. Number 3, emotional mastery. Emotional mastery is the ability to direct your internal world regardless of what is happening around you. And it is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop. Life will always present uncertainty, pressure, and unexpected challenges, but your emotions determine how you interpret and respond to those events. Most people live at the mercy of their emotional state, reacting automatically to circumstances, people, and stress without realizing they are reinforcing the very patterns they want to escape. When emotions run unchecked, they dictate decisions, sabotage focus, and quietly shape outcomes. Mastery begins when you recognize that emotions are signals, not commands, and that you have the capacity to influence them through awareness and intention. Your emotional state directly affects your energy, your confidence, and the quality of your actions. When you operate from fear, frustration, or doubt, your vision narrows and your behavior becomes reactive. When you operate from clarity, determination, and purpose, you see options, take initiative, and move forward with strength. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It is about learning how to shift your state deliberately. This means changing your physiology, your focus, and the meaning you assign to events. The moment you change what you focus on and how you interpret a situation, your emotional state begins to change, and with it, your ability to act effectively. Developing this skill requires discipline and repetition. You must become aware of your emotional patterns and identify the triggers that pull you into disempowering states. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause and choose a response that aligns with your long-term vision rather than your short-term comfort. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience. Setbacks no longer derail you because you understand that temporary emotions do not define permanent outcomes. You stop allowing bad moments to turn into bad days, and bad days to turn into a bad life. Emotional mastery also strengthens leadership over your own life. When you can regulate your emotions, you communicate more clearly, make decisions with confidence, and maintain consistency even under pressure. You become someone who remains grounded when others panic, focused when others quit, and steady when others lose control. This internal stability becomes a competitive advantage, allowing you to operate at a higher level regardless of external chaos, because your inner world is no longer dictated by circumstances but directed by conscious choice. Number 4, daily non-negotiables. Daily non-negotiables are the small, disciplined actions you commit to regardless of how you feel, what mood you're in, or what excuses try to surface. They are not dependent on motivation, inspiration, or perfect conditions. Most people wait to feel ready before they act, but feelings are unreliable and inconsistent. Non-negotiables remove emotion from the equation by establishing standards that are followed automatically. When you decide in advance what must be done every day, you eliminate internal debate, conserve mental energy, and build a rhythm that steadily moves your life forward. The power of daily non-negotiables lies in their simplicity and consistency. Transformation is rarely the result of one massive breakthrough. It is the outcome of small actions repeated long enough to compound. Reading a few pages, training your body, practicing focus, learning a skill, or doing one difficult task daily may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time these actions reshape your identity and capabilities. Each day you honor your non-negotiables. You reinforce trust in yourself. You prove that you are someone who follows through, someone whose word to themselves matters, and that internal integrity becomes the foundation for greater confidence and discipline. Establishing non-negotiables requires clarity and honesty. They must be specific, measurable, and aligned with the person you are becoming. Too many people set vague intentions that are easy to ignore when life gets busy. A non-negotiable is clear and uncompromising. It is something you do even on your worst days, especially on your worst days, because those are the moments when discipline matters most. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes automatic, and what once required effort becomes part of who you are. Daily non-negotiables also protect you from drift. Without structure, days blend together and progress slows without you noticing. Non-negotiables create anchors in your day that keep you aligned with your long-term vision. They ensure that no matter how chaotic life becomes, you are still investing in your growth. This consistency builds momentum, and momentum creates belief. As belief strengthens, standards rise, and the gap between who you are and who you want to be begins to close through daily action rather than bursts of temporary motivation. Number 5, vision with intensity. Vision with intensity is not a vague wish or a distant hope. It is a clear, emotionally charged picture of the future that pulls you forward even when motivation fades. Most people drift through life without a defined direction, reacting to whatever is urgent instead of moving toward what is important. Without a compelling vision, effort feels heavy and discipline feels forced. An intense vision gives meaning to sacrifice. It creates a reason to push through discomfort because you are no longer working blindly. You are moving towards something you can see, feel, and believe in with certainty. A powerful vision engages your emotions as much as your logic. It is not enough to know what you want intellectually. You must experience it internally. When your vision is intense, it activates desire, urgency, and focus. You begin to see your future self clearly. The way you think, the standards you live by, the way you show up in your work and relationships. This clarity influences your daily decisions because every choice is measured against the future you are committed to creating. Distractions lose their appeal when they conflict with a vision that matters deeply to you. Creating vision with intensity requires specificity and repetition. The more detailed the picture, the stronger its pull. You don't just imagine outcomes, you imagine the process, the discipline, and the character required to sustain that future. You rehearse it mentally until it becomes familiar, until your mind accepts it as possible and even inevitable. This mental conditioning trains your focus to notice opportunities that align with your vision while filtering out what doesn't serve it. Over time, your subconscious begins to work in your favor, guiding your actions and attention toward progress without constant effort. Vision with intensity also sustains you during adversity. When challenges arise, they no longer feel like reasons to quit, but like obstacles to be navigated. A strong vision reframes pain as part of the journey rather than a signal to stop. It reminds you why you started when doubt tries to take over. Instead of relying on temporary motivation, you operate from a deep sense of purpose that keeps you moving forward even when results are slow or invisible. This emotional connection to the future strengthens resilience and commitment, allowing you to persist with clarity and conviction regardless of temporary setbacks or external pressure. Number 6, relentless action. Relentless action is the bridge between intention and transformation, the point where thinking stops and movement begins. Many people spend their lives planning, analyzing, and waiting for the perfect moment, Believing clarity will come first and action will follow. In reality, clarity is often the result of action, not the prerequisite. Relentless action means moving forward before you feel ready, before you feel confident, and before conditions are ideal. It is the commitment to progress regardless of fear, doubt, or uncertainty, understanding that hesitation is often the greatest barrier to growth. This kind of action is not fueled by emotion or inspiration, it is driven by decision. Motivation comes and goes, but decisions create consistency. When you commit to relentless action, you stop negotiating with yourself and start executing what needs to be done. You act even when energy is low, even when results are slow, and even when no one is watching. Each step forward builds momentum, and momentum creates belief. Action changes how you see yourself, turning effort into evidence that you are capable of more than you previously believed. Relentless action also means embracing imperfection. Waiting to get everything right keeps most people stuck indefinitely. Progress requires you to accept mistakes, learn quickly, and adjust without hesitation. Instead of seeing missteps as failures, you treat them as feedback that sharpens your approach. This mindset allows you to move faster and stay adaptable because you are focused on forward movement rather than protecting your ego. The willingness to act repeatedly, even after setbacks, separates those who transform their lives from those who remain trapped in potential. As you commit to relentless action, resistance loses its power over you. Fear no longer stops you, it becomes something you move through. Discipline replaces hesitation, and consistency replaces bursts of effort. Over time, action becomes your default response to challenges rather than avoidance or overthinking. This creates a compounding effect where each day of execution strengthens confidence, sharpens focus, and reinforces the identity of someone who follows through no matter what. Someone who understands that transformation is not created by knowing more, but by doing more again and again without pause. This is your moment to rise, not someday, but now. The decisions you make today are shaping the life you will live in 2026. Step forward with ownership, vision, and relentless action. Become the person who refuses to stay the same.